Hi guys, I know it's been a while, but I am really happy to be back. Today I'd like to show you my third sketchbook, and this one is different. Not only did I upsize from A5 to A4, but most of the sketches were done on location. It took me almost 2.5 years to finish this one, and it's full of vivid memories which I'd like to show you. Are you ready? Let's dive in. The first spread is actually based on photos. My family and I were on holidays in mountains and it was pretty cold, so sketching outside wasn't really an option. I still wanted to capture this place, so I did afterwards at home. This first one is also drawn for photo. It's a quite detailed sketch of National Theatre of Czech Republic in Prague. And right next to it, it's a loose sketch of dancing house I did on location with my friend later on in summer, and I left it unfinished on purpose. It was quite hot that day and I quite liked how the page could breathe. This is from my very first sketching trip with my daughter. We went to the pond to meet other artists for the first time. And I was very curious if I could use this my ink and watercolor technique to sketch something different from buildings, something not made by human. And I think it turned out quite well. Next 3 spreads I drew during our family holiday in Hurghada, Egypt. First one is a hotel complex with the slides. First day I was quite hesitant to sketch, so I pulled out my ugly sketchbook and tried with pencil first. And it turned out quite well, so next day I went for it and tried one more time with the ink and watercolor. This one is from the beach. I escaped there for 2 evenings when my daughter and husband were resting in our room before dinner. And this was also the first sketch where everything was so close to me and it was quite challenging to capture it all, but I really enjoyed the golden hours there. This one is my least favorite. It's a reed fence separating 2 hotel beaches, but always when I see this picture I remember how hot was the concrete wall I was sitting on. This one is from an organized urban sketching meeting, and since I rarely get the chance to sketch with other people, I really enjoy the company of fellow artists. Plus the weather and the light were just perfect that day. After the sketching meetup, there is a big time gap in my sketchbook. The second half of the year is always very busy for me, so I didn't pick up the pen again until February. And then I sketched this alley in Florence. I drew it from the photo as a warm-up for a sketching trip to Italy that I'd planned with a friend. This sketch from the desk turned out quite well, but the one right next to it is my very first sketch made directly in Florence. And perspective is a bit off, as you can see. This Florentine skyline with its iconic Duomo was sketched from the Guardiano della Rosse. I still remember the relaxed atmosphere, people just sitting on the grass, take it in all in. The sketch itself is quite average, but I kept a little memento on the page, a receipt from our favorite restaurant. This page has a slightly different layout. 2 panoramatic sketches placed on top of each other. The colored one is an evangelical Lutheran church drawn from the Martin Luther Gardens, and below is a simple ink sketch of the view from our balcony, looking down at the Florentine rooftops. I left it without color to keep the page feeling light and airy. On the opposite page there is a sketch from the Boboli Gardens with the entrance ticket attached. It didn't quite turn out the way I wanted, but at least the memory remains. And this is my last sketch from Florence, from our favorite square Santo Spirito. The tower is a bit dancing, but I love it anyway. When we came back home, I was full of energy. And in Italy, everything felt so natural. No overthinking, no hesitation. If we liked the scene, we just stopped and drew. There was no room for doubts. Back home, I challenged myself to do the same, even if someone I knew might walk by. And I did. When I was sketching this retro cinema, people stopped to watch or chat, and it turned out to be quite surprisingly nice experience. Like the previous two, these sketches are also from Jičín. I drew them while waiting for my daughter during her weekly art classes. This one captures a quiet, ordinary moment at Prague, remains of the castle and an old kiosk. It's funny how a simply killing time slowly turned into a regular opportunity to draw. I love how the colors blended on the rooftop here. Sometimes those accidental mixes are the best part. The opposite page stayed empty for a long time, so it's not in chronological order. But if you've been following me from the start, you might recognize it. It's a sketch from my very first on-location video. Next, my sketchbook headed to Prague. Once again, I was with my sketching buddy from Florence. She lives quite far away, so we only see each other once or twice a year. I am really grateful to share this hobby with someone, especially since I sketch alone most of the time. First is the Basilica of St. Ludmila, followed by the Golden Lane at Prague Castle. Normally it's crowded and there is an entrance fee, but if you wait until the evening, around 6 p.m. in summer, the gates open and the crowd slowly thin out. We still had to wait for people to finish taking photos, but it was absolutely worth it. The last subject is a quiet morning scene from Prague's Podolí. This entire spread covers our walk up to Vyšehrad. It started with this panoramic view of Prague Castle, but honestly, it didn't turn out the way I hoped. It's actually one of my least favorite drawings in this book. Next is the Church of St. Peter and Paul. These twin towers and their perspective were quite a challenge for me. And then it started to rain, but we weren't ready to leave yet. So, sheltered by the trees, I managed to draw this small structure in ink. We wanted to sketch the park gate too, but the wind suddenly picked up and it felt like a storm was coming. We had to give up. Only these few unfinished pencil lines remain, and I kept them there as a reminder that this is also part of urban sketching. The next spread shows the panoramic view of High Tatras in Slovakia. We took a cable car up to this point and continued on foot. From there we followed the side of the mountain, walked part of the ridge and eventually reached the peak, Velká Svišťovka. After that came a steep descent and we completed the whole loop back to the charming mountain town of Tatranská Lomnica. The sketch was made later that evening on the balcony. It's a simple view from our hotel. This page is still part of the same trip. The railway station sketch took me 2 sessions because I was traveling with my family. For the first part, I brought my daughter with me. It was her first sketching in such a busy place. At first she was a bit nervous, but then she really got into it. She was so happy when people stopped and complimented her drawing. For me it was challenging too, all the overlapping structures and beams. I only managed the ink on location, and later that evening I came back on my own and added a color. This next spread is actually one of my favorites, even though the subject is so ordinary. It's just an old building on our neighbor's property. I can't quite put my finger on one I love it so much. Maybe it's just the summer vibe, or the way the contrast turned out, but it just works for me. Then we have these two from August, my last sketches for a while before I took my usual autumn break. I went back to Kopřivnice, where I went to high school, specifically just to draw. The left is a pseudo-Gothic church of Saint Bartholomew, and the larger one is the Tatras Museum. If you like old trucks, that place is a must-see. But what I like the most on this one is the tree. Moving into December. It was freezing outside, so I finally found some time to sketch indoors. I started supporting Matt Gibbons on Patreon around then. The first one is from one of his tutorials, and for the second one I just used one of his reference photos to see what I could do on my own. In the middle of winter I really missed the Italian warmth, so I went back to my photos from Florence. Even though these weren't done on location, I still consider this one of my favorite spreads. It gave me a chance to practice the details I usually miss in the field. I experienced it with some exaggerated perspective here and practiced drawing people at different distances there. And this last street scene, it really surprised me. I just love how the colors blended on this small one. This page was inspired by a YouTube demo from Tom Peidelhauser alias Captain Tom, one of my favorite sketchers. I didn't follow him step by step though. I found my own reference of the Hagia Sophia and tried to tackle it the next day. Opposite that is a Maiden's Tower. This one is special because it was actually the very first process video I ever posted on this channel. For a long time, the left side of this spread was just blank. I'm not sure why I skipped it. The right side was done much earlier from a reference photo, but about 2 months later I finally filled the gap while waiting for my daughter during her art class. I actually love how these two ended up together, even though they were created miles and months apart. This one is a bit different. Just one single sketch taking up a whole spread. I filmed the entire process for this one. It was quite experience setting up my gear in the middle of a dusty field. This spread is all about contrast. Not just the colors, but feeling of being there. On the left, this castle tower from March. Man, I remember how much I was shaking from the cold. It was a real battle against the freezing wind. But right next to it, pure summer, golden hour at the castle ruins. I was there with my daughter, and looking at it now, I can almost feel the warm breeze again. Here we are in Příbor, the birthplace of Sigmund Freud. The right side was done in April, again with my daughter, and again fighting the wind. There is a video of the struggle on the channel if you are interested. The left side stayed empty until June. I came back when the weather was better and drew the different view of the town. I have footage, so let me know in the comments if you would like to see the summer memory video in February. Honestly, this sketch feels a bit average, a bit like a coloring book. But keep it in the mind, I want to compare it with the very last sketch in this book later. This wooden cottage is a place in a small village Kozlov where painter Max Švabinsky used to spend his summers. A friend took me there for a tour and we got this lovely ticket, so I had to glue it in as a memento. On the opposite page is an ink sketch from Svitavy. I ran out of time for watercolors, but looking at it now, I think I prefer it this way. And the very last page is from Litomyšl, the birthplace of another giant, this time from the world of music, Bedřich Smetana. But as I mentioned earlier with the Příbor sketch, this one also reminds me of a coloring book, and I just can't put my finger on why it's that. Maybe it's a fault of the first wash? Did I not let the colors bleed into each other enough? Or is it just too much accuracy, like I was trying too hard to stay between the lines? I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments if you have an opinion on this. Anyway, this is it for this sketchbook. I've already managed to fill about half of the next one, and I'm really happy with the quality of Etcher, so I'm sticking with them for now. My current one is also Etcher Everyday Sketchbook in A4 size. If you enjoyed this look into my journey and want to see more urban sketching, I'd love to have you along for the next one. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the progress in my new sketchbook. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!